Good evening. Welcome to Whyz Hr. We have a new celebrity co-host, and I'm going to introduce her in just a minute. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Jack Mitchell, and it's a pleasure to be with you again on another edition of Whyz Hr. All you want to know about human resources. Tonight, I want to introduce you to a new celebrity co-host who's going to be joining us every Tuesday night on the show for the month of July. We are thrilled to have with us Natalie Cabrera, and Natalie is the Director of Human Resources for the wonderful city of Port St. Lucie. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for having me.
It's such
I'm
a pleasure.
excited to be here.
And you're going to be with us for the month of July as our co-host. And Natalie is going to be inviting some of her professional HR colleagues to join us from time to time to add their insights to our program. Remember, our goal is to, number one, have fun. This is our free time, and Natalie is wonderful to volunteer to be here with me tonight. So it's our time, so we want to have an enjoyable time. But we also want it to be engaging with you, our audience, to make sure that the conversation is such that it's engaging. And then the third thing, we do want it to be informative. We want you to really appreciate various aspects of HR, of the employment world. And we're reviewing right now the whole concept of staffing. And I've developed a number of steps. I'll get to it in a minute. But before I do, I want Natalie, if you would be nice enough to just share a little of your back. Natalie is, I'm really impressed. Natalie started off at the city as an
administrative secretary.
And just recently she's been promoted. The city they had a search, and they looked outside of the city of Port St. Lucie for professionals who would come in to become the new director of HR. And they looked outside, and they realized that inside the city, they had a person who was totally qualified to run and be the new director of human resources. So, Natalie, congratulations. That's
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Stunning what you've done.
Thank
Tell
you.
the folks just a little of your background and your history going through the ranks to become the head of human resources for our wonderful city of Port St. Lucie.
So I've been with the city for 16 years. And like Jack said, I did start there as an administrative secretary, and I've worked my way up. I've basically held almost every single position in the department. So I feel I'm very well-rounded and versed in the functions of HR for the city. So I'm hoping I can bring some information to you all today. And thank you for having me.
That's so wonderful. Congratulations. One of the things that, if any of you have any questions during the show, feel free to write in. And if we can answer the questions, we will. And if we can't, we'll make something up.
We'll research it and get back to you.
We'll research and get back. And if you were to send in a question, then we would have your name. If you want to keep it anonymous for whatever reason, then just feel free to write to Dr. Jack, write to me, Dr. Jack at whyzhr.com. And I'll make sure that I answer any question that you may have. And I thank the folks that have written in and asked us a number of questions. One of the people that wrote in was a woman by the name of Amber, and she said, "What's my background?" So just a little background that I was teaching law, international law in Europe, and came back to the States and didn't want to practice law as such here. So I also have a degree in psychology. So I worked as a therapist in a school system in New Jersey. I'm originally from Boston, but I got a job working as a therapist in a school system. And I was there for a little while and then wanted to get into corporate life. And so I got hired by a company in New Jersey to be a national sales manager, which was wonderful because I had a new bride and we were able to travel around the United States as the national sales manager for this company. a position opened up in the company for a corporate director of training and development. And because I have a very extensive academic background, they said, let's put Mitchell in there and as the manager of training and development. So I went there. And then because of the background, I got into recruiting and I got into benefits and compensation. Just like you, I went through the various departments and functions within HR. And then I was ultimately became the director of at that time, this is ancient history. At that time, we were called personnel. So I was the
Personnel
director of personnel,
department.
not human resources. Then I was recruited to go into Manhattan and work in the advertising and public relations industries. And I was there for 10 years. And I became the senior vice president of human resources. My mother was really impressed. My title was worldwide director.
Wow,
So,
that is impressive.
I was senior director, worldwide director of human resources, not just New York,
Yeah,
worldwide. So my mother was really impressed. And then in 1990, I left corporate life and decided I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I came to Florida and have worked for the past years here in Florida, primarily as an independent consultant specializing in personality assessments and in management workshops, leadership workshops. So,
Very nice.
And then I got involved here with Whyz Communications and our TV show, Whyz Hr. So that's just a little of my background, and it's
an impressive background.
it's been a wonderful background, and I'm just really happy that I've been so blessed to do something that I love. I even got paid for it.
Yeah,
So
about that.
That was the best deal of all. What we're going to do, folks, is if something we say or someone says makes sense or really is a good idea, you're going to hear our bell because that just kind of celebrates a good idea.
Okay.
So hopefully you'll have a couple of bells during the day that you'll hear. What I want to do now, let's go to work, okay?
All right.
But what I want to do before we actually get into the subject matter, there's one more person we'd like to bring on and share with you. This is another very senior HR professional. Natalie, why don't you tell us and introduce our next guest?
Absolutely. So our next guest is Tamara Williamson, and she actually was the person that hired me at the city way, way long ago, 16 years ago. Wise decision, Tammy.
Yes. Very.
I'll let you tell a little bit about yourself at this point.
Sure. Well, I have over 25 years of human resources experience and started at the even a lower position than you, Natalie. And you know, I've worked my way up and around and I've had some great experiences working in human resources. I've gone and obtained my master's degree in human resources. And I look forward to talking to you guys today and having some fun. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize that HR professionals love to have fun, right? That's what helps us. That's what helps us get through the day sometimes. So I'm really glad to join you both today.
That's wonderful. Before we actually get in the program, let's just take a minute for one of our sponsors. And we love our sponsors. So we'll be back right after this commercial.
Well, we've primarily used the DISC assessments with Dr. Jack to hire a number of senior managers, your assistance with this, which to me is really important. The DISC assessment speaks for itself and is proven to be, you know, a very, very accurate tool. And as you've educated us how to interpret it, it is relatively easy to interpret, but I do appreciate the fact that we're doing it in conjunction with you and that you are helping us interpret and, you know, dig deeper than we could on our own. So, I mean, the results speak for themselves.
Thank you, Paul, and the results speak for themselves. Let's get into some fun. Let's talk about staffing. One of the things that I did a while ago in developing a workshop that I gave to some HR professionals was I developed a program and I called it the 12 steps of staffing. And over the past few weeks, we've been going through those steps with a former celebrity co-host who did a great job. And the first step we talked about was when a job opens up, the immediate thought should not be, let's fill it. The immediate thought should be, do we need to fill that job? Can we
Absolutely.
distribute the job to other people? So the first step in the whole staffing process is to answer that question, and just don't jump in and assume, especially maybe a new HR professional who doesn't have our experience would just automatically say, well, let's just fill the job. It's in the head count. Well, that's really,
Sure, that may not always be the best, best way to refill that position. I know with us, where at the city, we have, our general workforce, the age is about 46. So we're looking to fill that skill gap and having to, think about succession. And so maybe filling that position the same way you always filled it is not the best use of that
Yep.
position. There may be a way to, fix another area of your department or your organization that has a gap that you're not able to get. And it's maybe a better resource of that position.
well, that's absolutely brilliant. Whoops.
Oh, wow. Look at that. I got an idea.
Good going. That was a good one. That was a good response. The second step is pre-planning. To me, this is really important. Pre-planning means, okay, we are going to go forward and fill that position. Let's talk about the job description. Does the job description need to be updated, changed, whatever it is? This is the time to do it. Are we still working okay? We have our producer is giving me the thumbs up. We had some technical issues there. So look at the job description. In that job description, I like to identify 3 of the technical skills, those skills that are really required for the particular position, and 3 what I call personality skills.
Kind of behavior based.
The behaviors. The technical skills are skills that you learn in school, or you can read a book and so forth and learn. They'll
Or your
learn skills.
experience.
The personality skills, that's the way God made you. That's how you're developed as a
What's your
personality.
values,
All those
all of
kind
those
of,
kind of things.
exactly. So identify that. Identify the salary, the compensation, the benefits.
I just want to interrupt really quick
ahead.
and throw out there job descriptions and how very important that is on so many different levels, that be looked at, especially when somebody vacates a position, because when, sometimes through the course of working, you get added duties and different responsibilities become yours.
That's
And if
right.
that's not documented or accounted for, you're missing that. And so that next person coming in to fill that role may say, well, that wasn't in my job description.
Mhm.
So it's really important to keep those updated. And what I like to do is I like to have hiring managers, not actually the hiring manager, but the supervisor. You should be looking at that when you sit down and do that person's evaluation. Share that job description. Let them, include in there anything that they've been doing that you may not have realized
So
that they're
have it
doing.
as a living document.
A fluid document,
That's
sure,
that's
where you
excellent.
review it kind of regularly, once a year at the very least.
I got to give this
Oh, I
one.
got 2.
Tammy, how about yourself when it comes to step number 2, and that's a pre-planning? Any thoughts that you have on this?
Well, I think Natalie touched on a lot of them, but I think the most important thing is to get the buy-in from staff, especially those who are going to be working day to day with the candidate or the applicant that ends up being hired. It's so enormously important to get a good fit, and it really starts, I think, with your second step of evaluating and determining what is best for the organization and getting the feedback from the staff specifically. They, one of the things that can end someone's employment very quickly is the not really understanding what those staff members need, what they're looking for in a candidate, and then the candidate fails. So nobody wants that. The cost of recruiting is way too much. So it's important to spend the time to evaluate those things.
Wow.
Yay,
That's
Tammy.
a lot of bell ringing tonight. I think one of the things that, just my point is that, because of my background in assessments and so forth, I find that terribly important because most people are not successful in the job, not because of poor technical skills. It's because of that fit that you mentioned, Tammy, that they don't have the same sense of urgency. they're not creative enough, or they're not detailed enough, or they talk too much, or they don't talk enough. All those kind of things, they're not dependable. All those kind of things are terribly important in the success of a person long term.
Wouldn't you agree that, to be a salesperson takes a specific type of personality to be able to sell? And if you are not that type of personality and you get into a sales position, you're going to fail because you don't, that's just really not in your innate nature.
That's correct. So, but again, there's a difference between being someone that sells a particular product. Someone that's going to sell a pen, for example, is different than someone who is a real estate person who's going to sell a larger. So, we're talking one that needs a lot more relationship
Sure.
than someone else.
That's a very good point.
So,
very good point.
it's, even within the sales, there are variations you have to think about. Well, we're going to get into assessments later on, because that's, I think, my 7th or 8th step.
Oh, I'm jumping.
But you are so wise to be thinking ahead. So the second step is really important. It's about pre-planning, and to me, that's critical for this thing to go smoothly. The third step is sourcing, and this is really tough today, especially with COVID. And where do you find employees? Tammy, let's ask you first.
Sure.
In your experience, where did you find, and today, where would you look, as an HR professional to source valid, viable, qualified candidates?
Oh, well, I think that the online job boards that you can take advantage of, like Indeed, I don't know if we're allowed to say that, but I have found that they probably provide the best platform, and you're able to get the most information on your candidate. And they do a great job linking up to your own job board within your organization, so that you're getting the answers you need for that position from that individual. So I think that's a critical piece. And then, depending on the type of position, you may want to recruit in specific publications that are specific to that job type. Working at Torrey Pines, we had to recruit for scientists. And that's, a very sort of niche position. And so utilizing publications that these scientists would read helped us be able to recruit quality candidates. So I think those are a couple of important sites.
Excellent. What about yourself?
I think associations as well is a good source for that. For example, for human resources positions, there's local SHRM chapters in most cities. That's a great resource for HR positions. So, and there's, engineering. So there's all kinds of different chapters and affiliations of different industries. So there's engineering, there's all kinds of those type of associations that lend to that.
And to me, a lot depends on the position itself, the level of the position. So if you're talking about a professional like an HR person or an engineer, then what you ladies are talking about are right on target. Using a situation like the associations, the professional associations, or using those operations such as Indeed and Zip and Monster and so forth, they're all beneficial. But for a person who's not a professional or a schooled position, then you wouldn't use those same sources. So it could be just referrals by fellow employees,
Job boards,
those kind of things. So there's just different ways to try to hire or get a source of valuable candidates, qualified candidates.
Sure.
But today, again, it's really tough, especially for the non-skilled labor, the restaurant, the hotel business, and so forth, of people in the service industries that don't need a particular skill,
Right.
as opposed to a plumber or a electrician or that type of thing. It's really tough to apparently, I haven't been personally involved trying to get them, but you must have.
Well, I know we have part-time positions that tend to be harder to fill, and we're competing with, private sector employers like a Target that's paying $14, $15 an hour. And I think municipalities and public sector are a little slower to get
Yeah.
to that point than private sector. So our
Yeah.
competition and where we struggle is with that,
Yeah.
as well as, public sector will always struggle with IT positions because it can't compete with the market.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
That's a real challenge
Mhm.
for any public sector
Absolutely.
organization. We're going to get back. We're going to take another quick commercial if we could. Then I want to get back and I have a question I want to ask Tammy.
Okay.
We'll be back just.
What I like about the DISC profile is that it's thorough, but it's not redundant. So it shows me what I need to see. It explains exactly how this candidate would behave in an office environment, how they would relate to their coworkers and their managers. But it doesn't give me so much information that I'm confused. It's also a really great tool, not just for hiring. I can also use it when I'm coaching or when I'm reprimanding an employee or when employees are having disagreements between themselves. So I have brought DISC profiles to these meetings and I show them, this is why your personality would react this way to this comment, and this is why hers wouldn't. And it's just been a really great tool because it's factual, so people don't tend to take it personally. And they're also very interested to learn more about themselves. So oftentimes at the end of those meetings, the employees will ask if they can have a copy of their entire thing, and I'm happy to give it to them. And they're really excited about how it matches up to their personality. They're really shocked that only a few questions can really just see who they are in such an in-depth way. And it's great for when I want to move people into different jobs or different departments, because I can see, would they fit in this department? Are they capable of doing this job? And it gives me confidence to be able to promote or to move into a different department. And then when I've done this with employees and I've shown them their DISC profile, when we have conversations in the future, all I have to do is reference it and they understand. So it's been a really helpful tool in a lot of ways, not just for hiring. Right? I mean, the cost for the DISC profile is minimal, especially when you compare it to the cost of hiring the wrong employee. To onboard, to train, to pay them benefits, to pay them holiday pay, for however long it takes for you to realize that this wasn't the right person. I mean, that's a tremendous cost, both in time and in dollars. So the DISC profile cost is really minimal compared to that.
Thanks, Tammy. Not Tammy. Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie just gave that wonderful testimonial. I had Tammy on my mind because I have a question. Tammy, right now I understand that you are personally looking for a senior HR position. What's that been like for you? What are some of the challenges that your experience as an HR professional looking for a senior level HR position?
Well, I'll be honest, there have not been a lot of those opportunities out there. And as a job seeker, I think you have to look at other positions too. If that's not there, what else can I see myself doing? And is it maybe not a senior level or more of a mid-level? But it's a little difficult. I'm hoping that things will open up a little bit more now that we're back in full work, at work. We're not all sitting home in our jammies and doing our work there. But what I have seen, which is really cool, and not to get off topic, but I think it's important, a lot of jobs are indicating that they're remote, and that can be very enticing for someone. And I think a lot of employers have realized through these COVID times is, hey, we can have more people at home and they're more productive at home. So thank you. So that's something to factor in. But you know what? You just got to you can't quit. You just got to keep moving forward, keeping yourself busy. If you are part of a association, let your friends know, you are looking, so that they can keep their eyes and ears open for things. So I think for job seekers to share as a fellow job seeker is just to keep yourself ready, because I believe that things are going to start rolling out pretty quickly. and they're going to realize that they need more senior level folks to handle the influx, because it's going to happen. The influx of people coming back to work with the unemployment, benefits being scaled back. More and more people are going to have to be coming back to work. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. And one of the things too I would recommend is that for anyone, say in Tammy's position, is to make sure that you're utilizing your own network of
Absolutely.
professionals, that they know that you're looking. Go back in your history and find the people that with whom you've worked and let them know that you are available and that you're looking for, and they may know. So you create a web for yourself. So you really have to be proactive. If you're just sitting home, just sending in resumes, you're going to have a tough time. But I think that you really have to be proactive in terms of, especially utilizing your network of people that know you, like you, trust you. And if anyone has worked with you, then that's a great, even if they were not a senior person at the time, they may have influence in their present company.
Sure.
And for a professional level person like yourself, Tammy, that type of a proactive approach, I think, can really be beneficial for you. Okay.
Sure.
I'm going to give myself I'm going to give myself a little bell. You can do that.
You want me to do it for you?
Being,
There you
being my
go.
co-host, see, because
I'm stingy with the bells.
She's really brilliant, but she's stingy with that bell. Okay. Our next step that I have, again, it's a thinking step. It says, who's going to be involved in the process? In other words, you have to identify, once you do have, you're starting to source, who's going to be reading the resumes, and then who's going to be involved in the interview process? Is it going to be just someone in HR? Is it going to be the hiring manager? Is it going to be a group of people? How many interviews are going to be required?
I think that depends a lot on the position, Jack.
Yeah.
I think the level of the position is going to dictate what type of setting you use for an interview.
Yep.
I think, an entry level position would probably consist of maybe the immediate supervisor, hiring manager. And then as you move along or higher up in levels, I think then it becomes more of a group or a panel
Yep.
style interview. And there might be several interviews with that. You may have a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you ladies like the panel approach? And if you say a panel, is there an appropriate number of people that should participate in a panel?
I think it depends on the organization and the level of the position. I know I walked into an entry level position at the same time that I was interviewing for the city. And I walked into my first ever panel interview, and I was an entry level person, and there were 5 individuals
Wow.
sitting around that table, and it was so intimidating. And I don't think I did very well, but luckily the city called me, so I must have done okay there. But I think you really look at it on the basis of what this person is going to be doing.
Yeah.
If it's an entry level person, you don't need 5 people sitting at a table. That's very intimidating. I think just the person that's going to actually be supervising, maybe an HR representative or a hiring manager at the most.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Tammy, how about yourself? What are your thoughts about the interview and who should be involved and how many people and that type of thing?
Sure. Well, I think Natalie, said it well. And as a current job seeker, I've recently experienced some interviews that have been very daunting. And you have 6 people in there, and one person is there to playing a certain role. Another person is nice. Another person is not as outgoing. And, they plan beforehand, hopefully, but it seems like it. So you have those. And, again, each organization, whatever makes sense for them and the jobs. And again, like I said earlier, having someone in the interview that is, truly a part of the work group, if it's working in a group, I don't think it's a bad thing to have them in the interview, even if they're just kind of observing the interview, and that helps with later down the road things as well. But you're going to get the feedback from that person saying, this individual didn't really seem to have the experience, or, hey, they're great, we need to, get them right now. So yeah, it does depend on the job and the organization, but HR people, need to understand that you don't need, 5 people on a panel interview for every single job. It really, does depend. It's that fun gray area in HR that we love so much.
I kind of also think they need to let the applicant know. If you're going to be doing a panel interview, you should let your applicant know so they know what they're walking into.
Mhm.
That's a little bit easier to prepare that way for the job. I think, coming in and being faced with 5 people is very different if you know that you're walking in to meet 5 people.
The only time I would recommend that there be more than 3, I don't think there should be more than 3 for a professional job. I agree with you. For a lower level position, the hiring manager with an HR person there is perfect. But for a higher level, I don't think there should be any more than 3 in there unless the job requires a terrific amount of pressure. If you're looking for someone that can handle pressure, then you could have up to 5, but only if the job is one in which there's a lot of pressure to the job and you want to see how this person does
Under pressure.
then that's one way of doing it. However, I just be careful about potential discrimination, that to do it for one person and have
should be
5 people
consistent.
there, and then the next person comes in and there's only 3 of you that show up, that's potentially discriminatory.
I agree.
And so we have to be careful of that. But we've got to end. I want to just take one more second off for another brief commercial from one of our favorite sponsors. And we'll be right back after this commercial.
Okay.
The Greek philosopher Socrates said, "The first step to wisdom is to know thyself." Complete a Whyz Hr personality profile to really know yourself. Get a 93 to 97% accurate 40-page comprehensive report of your personality styles. You'll also have the opportunity to have a phone consultation with an expert in understanding the report.
Welcome back. I want to thank Tammy, our guest. You were wonderful. And
Thank you.
for your wonderful insights and comments. And we will see you again because we want to have you come back on our show. You were so good. And my
Thank you.
celebrity co-host was fabulous. So
Yes, she
I'm
is.
going to sing one for
I'm
you.
going to give her a couple of, and for me, for selecting her, I'm going to give myself a bell. Just terrific. Folks, take out your calendar, take out your telephones, your cell phones, and in your calendar, put in next Tuesday at 7:30. And my celebrity co-host, Natalie Cabrera, is going to be joining us again. And we're going to continue with our discussion on staffing. I hope you had a good time tonight. I hope we
Great
fulfilled our mission of providing an enjoyable and engaging and informative show for you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at another Whyz HR.